for life, health, and strength. Um, Happy to be here. Thanks, Gigi, for opening up the room. um, so this morning I want to read from the book of Psalms, actually. Psalms 40 and 3 that says, He has given me a new song to sing, a hymn of praise to our God. Many will see what he has done and be amazed. They will put their trust in the Lord. And today I'm just grateful for life, health, strength. I'm grateful for my wife and my children. Um, Grateful for my staff, grateful for each and every one of you. Um, my church family, my men's group, just so many things to be grateful for this morning on this particular part of the scripture. Um, the reason why I saved it is because it was just a really good reminder. Because when the author said, um, many will see what he has done and be amazed. They will put their trust in the Lord. And it was just one of those reminders for me that, like, you know, one of the things that, like, I battle with sometimes, right, is like, I guess, social anxiety, right? Just being transparent with this. Like, people assume naturally because my character, like, they assume that I'm like a very social person. And while I may used to be back in the day, a lot of that had to do with, you know, alcohol and drinking and party and that sort of stuff. But me as a person, like, I never was into that. I've never been to a prom. I've never, like, when I was in school, I was always the one that would avoid public speaking. Like, I just, I can't explain it, but it's just something that I wasn't into, right? But I could tell you the truth. So Onika was the first person who, like, started to share my stuff. And then, to be honest with you, like, I transparent. I used to get annoyed by it because I was like, why is he putting me out there like that? And she'd be like, oh, we just have to share the message, da 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 da, and I was like, ugh, it's overwhelming. And lately, I've been just sort of sharing as well too, but just talking, just not thinking about it, but just recording a video here and there, just talking. And to see the amount of response that people get, and like people messaging me on the side and saying, like, yes, it's very encouraging, like, keep doing this and keep doing that. Um, it was very, it was one of those things that reminded me that, like, it's very important to tell God's story, you know? Like, the Bible wouldn't exist if if God didn't put his story out there for us to receive the word, you know? And whether or not we look at it as though that was an old story or that was back in the day, you know, the thing is that 100 years from now, will people still have books or will they have videos? How will God's story be told if we aren't the ones telling it? And that's why in this particular part of the scripture where it says, many will see what he has done and be amazed. They will put their trust in the Lord. You know why they can be amazed? Because God has done so much amazing things to his followers and for his followers that, like, you wouldn't even know that these things are humanly or spiritually possible if you don't tell your story. See, God don't bless you in secret, whether you choose to see that or not. When God bless you, when God brought you out your sickness, Gigi, there was a doctor there to witness that. There was us here who heard that. There was people close to you who knew that. See, God don't bless none of us in secret. Indira, when he brought you out of your darkest times, people knew because you talked about it, you exposed it, you knew. When you going through things, God don't bring you out of these things in secret. So why hide our relationship? Why hide what he has done for us? Why hide the fact that we love him and that we don't love him just because what he did for us? We love him because of who he is, not what he's done. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm talking my story now. That's why I'm open with my Christianity. That's why I wear my Christianity like a proud hat. Like when people of their political affiliations and they wear their big hats and they walk around with it and they proud of it. That's me with Jesus. I proud because not because what he's done, but because who he is. And so This was one of those parts of the scripture that showed me that it's important for us to tell God's story because that is how you get people to put their trust in the Lord. So thank you everyone for giving me the opportunity to speak. Let me come down off my soapbox like Gigi is saying. Y'all have a blessed day. I'm Kerry and I relinquish my mic.
Can I speak now, guys? Gary got me tearing up and crying because Carrie, I'm here with my sons at work. I'm here next to my son Emmy in Nigeria. And I can tell you guys that I'm here because somebody by the name of Carrie showed up and spoke at the breakfast in the Bible and taught me not just about faith in God, guys, but about being obedient to God. And that obedience has led me here today. I'm driving to work with my husband and my two sons. Great sons I have here, guys. Great, great sons. I call Carrie Uncle Carrie to them because every day I faithfully play the Carrie messages in the car driving to work to teach my sons about being great people on behalf of God and the world. And I'm not going to say anymore, but thank you, Carrie. Thank you for showing up here and thank you for being who you are. I pass it back to you guys.